Why is it that faith so often promises a just, fair universe when the world we actually see, well, isn't? It's a massive question, right? It sits at the very heart of what it means to believe. So today, we're going to dig into faith's answer, or really, its many answers, to this huge problem of injustice. You know, most debates about religion get totally stuck on one single question. Is it true or is it false? Like, did these things literally happen, or are they just stories? Is there a God, or is there nothing? It's always this black and white yes or no argument. But what if that's the wrong question to be asking in the first place? What if the real power of religion, its sort of enduring magic, has absolutely nothing to do with whether the stories are factually true? What if, instead, we ask, what does religion do for us, psychologically? And that leads us to this really fascinating theory. What if we think about religion not as fact or fiction, but as maybe the most powerful placebo ever invented? A system that's literally designed to generate hope. Okay, so you know how a medical placebo works, right? A doctor gives a patient a simple sugar pill, but tells them it's a powerful new drug. Just the belief that it's real medicine can cause the patient's brain to release actual pain-killing chemicals. The pill itself does nothing, but the healing effect is 100% real. Well, this theory suggests religion works in the exact same way. The stories, the rituals, the community, that's the sugar pill for our minds. So how does it pull this off? Well, it's kind of like a three-step process. First, you've got the narrative, this big, sweeping story that gives life meaning and purpose. But that story is just the delivery system. The real engine is faith. That's your active choice to trust in the story. And it's that choice that unlocks the effect, real, measurable psychological benefits, like a sense of peace and the resilience to get through tough times. But, you know, every system has a potential weak point, a place where it could all fall apart. For this religion placebo, that weak spot is the massive, glaring contradiction between what it promises and what we actually see in the world every single day. And this is the core tension, isn't it? On one hand, you have the promise of a universe that's orderly, meaningful, and fundamentally just. But on the other hand, you have the reality we live in, where innocent people suffer horribly, and sometimes the wicked seem to get away with everything and prosper. So how can faith possibly survive that contradiction? So how do you keep that placebo working? How do you keep the engine of hope running when life seems to be throwing evidence against it left and right? This is where belief systems get incredibly creative and, honestly, quite brilliant. The first major group of answers solves this problem by basically changing the time frame. They argue that, yeah, justice might not be happening right here, right now, but don't worry, it's being handled on a much grander divine or cosmic scale. One of the most common and powerful solutions is to just defer justice. Think about core beliefs in Christianity and Islam, for example. The idea of a final day of judgment is central. And this is a profound move because it reframes all the suffering we see now as temporary. Justice isn't being denied, you see, it's just being delayed until the ultimate cosmic reckoning, when all the books are balanced. Okay, another strategy just flips the whole script. It argues that suffering isn't a bug in the system, it's actually a feature. The classic example is the Book of Job, where a truly good man loses everything. The story's point isn't that God's system of justice failed. No, the point is that the suffering is the point. It's a divine test, designed to forge a stronger faith, a more resilient character. So justice isn't about getting good stuff, it's about spiritual growth. Then you've got traditions like Hinduism and Buddhism that do something else entirely. They redefine what justice even is. Karma isn't some god in the sky handing out rewards and punishments. It's more like a law of physics, an impersonal cosmic law of cause and effect. Every action creates a ripple, a consequence that will eventually play out, maybe in this life, maybe in a future one. So from this perspective, injustice is just the universe slowly, but surely, balancing its own books. But hey, not all the solutions look to the heavens or the next life. There's a completely different approach that puts the responsibility for creating justice squarely on our shoulders, right here, right now. A really beautiful example of this is the Jewish concept of tikkun olam. It literally means repairing the world. This idea suggests that humans aren't just supposed to be passive victims waiting for God to fix things. No, we are active partners with God, and it's our job to get our hands dirty and help repair what's broken in the world.
And this idea of human responsibility, it echoes all over the place. Think about the teachings of Jesus. It's a constant call to action, right? Care for the poor, stand up for the oppressed, look after the marginalized. This whole approach is a game changer because it turns passive hope into active participation. You don't just wait around for justice to show up. You become an agent of it.
So, we've looked at all these different strategies, from the cosmic to the personal. What's the ultimate takeaway here? What do they all really have in common when you boil it all down? Well, the goal is never to deny that injustice exists. I mean, that would be crazy, right? You can't. The real goal is to reframe it. Each and every one of these strategies gives you a new lens, a new story that lets a believer make sense of suffering without having to give up on hope. So, it doesn't matter if justice is deferred to an afterlife, or reframed as a divine test, or redefined as a cosmic law, or enacted by us, by believers here on earth. The end result is always the same. That crucial engine of hope, the very thing that powers this whole placebo effect, is protected and kept running strong. And this brings us right back to where we started, but with a totally new perspective. We know the psychological effects of these beliefs, the peace, the resilience, the sense of purpose. We know those are undeniably real. So that leaves us with one last, really big question to chew on. If the hope it produces is real, does it ultimately matter if the story that created it isn't? Now that's something to think about.